This is Michael Popok with a Legal AF hot take. The case that started Alina Hubba with her relationship with Donald Trump may be the case that ends her career and gets her law license pulled. What am I talking about? Remember the name Alice Bianco. Alice Bianco was a server at Bedminster Golf Course when Alina Hubba wasn't yet a lawyer for Donald Trump, but was merely a member of that golf course, using it to schmooze and rub elbows and to try to do some client development for her small law firm that was a few hundred yards away from the club. She befriended Alice Bianco, as alleged in a lawsuit that was filed by Alice Bianco. And Alice Bianco, thinking that Alina Hubba was her friend and not doing the bidding of Donald Trump, confided in her that she was sexually abused and sexually harassed at work, meaning the Trump organization and Bedminster would be responsible. Alina Hubba, according to the lawsuit, sprung into action and tried to befriend her falsely, fraudulently, to seduce her, if you will, into believing that she was her friend, Alina Hubba was her friend, when all she wanted to do, Alina Hubba, was to use that as leverage with Donald Trump to say, hey, you got a case inside of the club that I may be able to make go away for little or no money. And Donald Trump basically gave her the permission to do that. The problem is Alice Bianco was duped and was victimized, as the lawsuit laid out, by Alina Hubba. Particularly Alina Hubba, and I'll read you some of the text messages, started sending her really disgusting text messages to F with her mind and to make this poor woman think that Alina was her friend, when all Alina was trying to do was to try to get this at a low or no settlement dollar amount to make the case go away so she could be a hero for Donald Trump so that he would hire her for other cases. That's what went on. In fact, this was a tryout for Alina Hubba. It was this case and another case that he gave her right after it. That was the tryout. Once she took care of the Alice Bianco case by falsely claiming that she was a friend, not a lawyer for Alice Bianco. That's the problem. The problem is she was really representing Donald Trump. That's how the bar is going to see this in New Jersey. She was representing Donald Trump, but she was misleading Alice Bianco to think that she was her friend. Lawyers can't do that and then get her to settle at little or no money for $15,000 and sign a non-disclosure agreement. Sound familiar? That's the MO for Donald Trump, isn't it? Have women that he has sexually abused, sexually assaulted, or have suffered a hostile work environment at one of his locations to sign a non-disclosure agreement? Okay, that's the MO. So what's the allegations? Allegations in the lawsuit, I reported on it back about 5-6 months ago, and that's the suit that was filed against Alina Hubba and Trump and Bedminster, is that Alina Hubba feigned being Alice Bianco's friend when she was really the lawyer for Donald Trump and got her to sign an unconscionable settlement and take a very low $15,000 settlement payment. Now, there is reporting that there is a release or a settlement agreement, 4 pages long, that was signed by Alice Bianco, but Alina Hubba has been carved out of it, expressly excluded from the release, meaning that Alice Bianco can go after her for fraud, which is going to be something that the New Jersey bar is going to be very concerned about. You know, when lawyers get sued for fraud, they have to self-report that to the bar that governs their license. In this case, the state of New Jersey bar. And she's going to have to self-report that. If she doesn't self-report that, I'm sure some citizen will report Alina Hubba. She'll have to send him the lawsuit and the fact that there was a settlement, and in the settlement they expressly excluded Alina Hubba from it. Right? It says that Alina Hubba shall not be a party to this case and that they have expressly excluded her. That means Bedminster and Donald Trump had no problem throwing Alina Hubba under the bus and her law license along with it. Now, the result of the settlement is it's sort of a temporary settlement. It doesn't resolve all the issues between the parties by any stretch of the imagination, because it allows Alice Bianco and her lawyer to sue Bedminster and Trump again and sue Alina Hubba again. It's sort of a temporary settlement. Alice Bianco gets to keep $15,000, which she was paid for that fraudulently obtained non-disclosure agreement. The lawyer for litigating the case so far gets her $82,500 litigation expense paid. And the parties go back to their boxing corners for a future lawsuit, including one directly against Alina Hubba. Now, when I read you the text messages, Not that you would feel sorry for Alina Hubba anyway. But when I read you the text messages that are part of the lawsuit that Alina Hubba sent to Alice Bianco to get her to believe that she was her friend, they're really disgusting and depraved. And I will read them out loud to you. Here's the text messages. They started in July 28th of 2021. It's hard to believe Alina Hubba's only been with Donald Trump less than 3 full years. Hi, love. It's Alina. I wanted to check on you. Within hours, Habba started throwing shade at Bianco's lawyers because Bianco had a lawyer at that time. And Alina Hubba, as alleged in the suit, as you can see in the text messages, wants to separate Alice Bianco from her lawyer, right? To get her into Alina Hubba's corner unrepresented. That is another no-no under the New Jersey bar rules of professional conduct. She starts throwing shade at Bianco's lawyer in the text messages saying, hey, be careful, and referring to the lawyer as this guy, implying he doesn't know what he's doing. It's sort of ironic that Alina Hubba is attacking the credentials and the work ethic of another lawyer. But then days later, they met several times at Alina Hubba's office, and where she just happened to have a non-disclosure agreement whipped up, right? And then Bianco's lawsuit claims that when they met inside Hubba's car, the lawyer tried to temper Bianco's expectations by telling her, you don't want to go public with this. This is Alina Hubba. I've been raped. I don't know if that's true or not, but the fact that she used that to try to extort and get Bianco and get her in her confidences and make her take a lowball settlement is really disgusting and depraved. She says Alina Hubba tells her, Alina Hubba, has been raped. I can help you. I can protect you. By the way, if that's true, the fact that the way she acted and behaved in taking the case against E. Jean Carroll, who was adjudged to be raped by her client, is really depraved. The NDA... So here we go. When the client, Alice Bianco, realized that she had to pay taxes on the $15,000 and which would result in even less money in her pocket, she ended up texting Alina Hubba, right? She said, again, I'm so grateful for everything you've helped me with, Alina. I feel so bad bothering you at the recital, so you can deal with this tomorrow when you have a chance. And Habba then says, I can't technically give you legal advice. That's the problem. Now she's standing on ceremony and telling the person who's her friend, you know that NDA I had you sign and I convinced you to do it. Oh, I wasn't really your lawyer at the time. Okay, that's a problem, again, for Alina Hubba under the rules of professional conduct and being candid to your client in full disclosure. And then the client started to freak out. Alice, she tried to get Alina on the phone when she realized maybe she'd been duped and now Alina Hubba's not taking the phone messages or the FaceTime. She says, I really can't give you legal advice. Right? What Habba didn't say was that by that time, in April of 2022, she was already representing Trump against Mary Trump, his cousin, and the New York Times in various suits. So now, of course, now she's in the thick of it. She acts like she was just a member of the club helping out a friend. What I like about the quote from the lawyer representing this Alice Bianco, the lawyer is quoted as saying, we got everything we asked for in our settlement. We asked to void the non-disclosure agreement, that she not have to pay back the $15,000. I didn't want her to pay a dime, so we got that. And she still has the right to sue Alina Hubba for fraud, and she has the right to sue the club for sexual harassment. So it's really just, as I said, a temporary settlement. Big problem for Alina Hubba. As I said, she has to self-report this to the New Jersey Bar Association because there's an allegation that she committed fraud against a client and lied to a client by telling her that she didn't represent her when she did. Now, look, I know people, unfortunately, in this business, in the law, who have been disbarred for doing about the same thing. It's a very famous case down in Miami. I wasn't involved with it, but it was somebody who had an even higher profile, was more established and more well-respected than Alina Hubba ever will be. And he made a mistake during a settlement negotiation involving a class of his clients. And in that settlement negotiation, he threw certain of his clients under the bus in order to benefit other of his clients, which is very similar, and lied to both sides. And he got disbarred for a long time. for about 10 years. So this is a big problem. And as I said, look at the irony of it. It could be the first case that put her on the map with Donald Trump, and the case that actually brings her low and gets her ticket pulled. Now, look, we've followed on Legal AF. This is not the first time that Alina Hubba has been in hot water professionally. She lied to, and we've reported on it, to Judge Engoron in the New York civil fraud case against Donald Trump about whether she knew if Alan Weisselberg, the longtime now disgraced and felon of a chief financial officer for Donald Trump, whether he was about to plead guilty to perjury related to testimony in that courtroom during that case. She said she didn't know and that she couldn't reveal it, but she didn't know, which was a lie. 3 weeks later, Alan Weisselberg pled guilty to perjury, something the judge would have liked to have known before he issued his final judgment against Donald Trump for $465 million. She also told untruths to Judge Kaplan in the E. Jean Carroll case when they tried to convince the judge that Donald Trump was having trouble raising the $100 million necessary for the bond to stop the execution of E. Jean Carroll's judgment, and without telling the judge they already had the bond 2 days before they were begging the judge for mercy because they claimed they couldn't get a bond. That's a problem. They also, lying to judges are a problem. Remember, Alina Hubba already got sanctioned over $1 million along with Donald Trump by a federal judge in Miami related to a lawsuit she filed without merit there on behalf of Donald Trump against the Democratic National Committee and against other officials related to the DNC, and got fined over $1 million. This is a body of work, of shame, of dishonor that the Bar Association, if they're not already investigating Alina Hubba, need to, right? She needs to be taken off the street. She needs to be taken off the street and not represent any more clients and be sanctioned and be censured and be disbarred and be forced to take remedial classes and the like. She's a disgrace to our bar. She really is. And the more we hear about these things, if the Bar Association, the state of New Jersey Bar doesn't do something about it, then citizens should file a bar complaint against her. There's no other way around it. We'll continue to follow this case of Alice Bianco and the decision apparently by Donald Trump's lawyers, current lawyers, to allow Alina Hubba to be hung out to dry and not get her to be part of the release.